The brain has a secret co-pilot, and it's not you. Your inner voice isn't you. It's a co-pilot made of prediction models, habit loops, and error checkers arguing in real time. You think you chose to click this video. Your brain started preparing for that action hundreds of milliseconds before you felt the decision. Ever felt a sharp déjà vu or watched your thoughts wander, then snap back on command? That's the system speaking. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the simple map neuroscientists use to explain those moments. 3 large-scale brain networks, a fast familiarity circuit, a slower context retriever, and the control system that breaks ties. Plus, the one rule that keeps you from trusting a gut feeling that hasn't earned it. You'll learn how to spot which voice is talking, how to tune the right one, and how to write better if-then instructions for your mind, so the co-pilot flies where you want, not where habit drifts. Map of the mind we'll use, concepts plus rules. Here's the map we'll use for everything that follows. It's not every detail of the brain, it's the minimum set that explains inner monologue, focus, mind wandering, déjà vu, and why self-talk works sometimes and fails other times. Start with 3 big networks that trade the mic. Default Mode Network, or DMN, the inward narrator. It stitches autobiographical memory, imagination, and self-talk. When you're daydreaming, simulating futures, or rehearsing conversations, DMN is leading. Central Executive Network, or CEN, the task team. Frontoparietal control regions hold goals in working memory, sequence steps, suppress distractions, and route actions. Salience Network, or SN, the switchboard. Anchored in the anterior insula and dorsal anterior cingulate, it detects what matters, outside or inside, and flips control between DMN and CEN. The rule of thumb: Salience triggers the switch, DMN narrates, CEN executes. Now, layer in the memory machinery that fuels inner knowing. The parahynal cortex delivers fast familiarity, this feels like I've seen it, without time or place. The hippocampus supplies recollection, here's where and when. Most days, familiarity pings first, and the hippocampus follows with details. When timing slips, you get a clean snap of certainty with no file attached. Déjà vu. Nothing mystical, just a familiarity pulse arriving before context retrieval, a timing account supported by intracranial work, with prefrontal metacognition acting as a brake to flag. I feel I know, but I don't have details. Good to know, because we'll treat that feeling as a data point, not a directive. Next, the control panel. Think dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and anterior cingulate as your internal referee. They monitor conflict, does the feeling match the evidence, and choose whether to credit DMN's story or CN's checklist. Under sleep loss or stress, their timing and thresholds drift. Translation: your narrator gets louder, your editor gets lazier, and you believe your own thoughts more than you should. This is metacognition in practice, knowing that you don't know, and error monitoring, in the anterior cingulate detecting when predictions fail. Add the action economy, the basal ganglia, and dopamine. You carry 2 teaching signals. Reward prediction error, better or worse than expected, reinforces value-guided choices. Action prediction error, was this action predicted, reinforces repetition. The first trains goals, the second trains habits. Your inner voice often justifies what these teachers already shaped. Now, a few ground rules for the whole map. Rule 1, state matters. Sleep recalibrates excitability and consolidates memories. Wakefulness and novelty open plasticity. Chronic stress biases gist over detail. When you change state, you change which network wins. Rule 2, the brain is predictive. Both DMN and sensory systems forecast the next frame. When predictions are right, you feel ease. When predictions lead without evidence, you feel certainty. Certainty is a feeling, not proof. Rule 3, familiarity is fast. Context is slow. Treat quick "I know this" as a prompt to verify, not to act, unless the cost of delay is high and the cues are hard. Rule 4, control is trainable, not infinite. Executive functions improve with practice and routines, but they degrade with fatigue and overload. Build scaffolds so the system needs less brute force. Rule 5, plans beat pep talks. Implementation intentions: if X then Y, bind cues to actions and borrow the basal ganglia's speed. Use them for known bottlenecks. Caveat: if the rule is wrong, the habit will be wrong faster. Keep them precise and review under fresh evidence. Rule 6, design beats willpower. Change friction in your environment to promote the right network at the right time. DMN time for reflection, CEN zones for execution, salience cues to switch. Let's make it concrete with your inner monologue. When you narrate plans or rehearse arguments, DMN composes, pulling phrases from language and scenes from memory. CN holds the thread and pins next steps. SN toggles, an email ping or a gut flutter, and the switchboard shunts you outward. If you've ever lost your train of thought mid-sentence, Salience grab the wheel. When you talk yourself into action, you're asking CEN to override a basal ganglia groove. It's easier if SN flags the moment and a cue-bound plan is ready. If I open the laptop, then I start the draft and set a 10-minute timer. The cue recruits the habit system. The timer caps the control cost. Salience marks the start. Mind wandering isn't failure. It's DMN doing future and memory maintenance. The trick is timing. Use it intentionally before creative work. 5 minutes of unguided thought, and deliberately shut it off for sprints. If the timer starts, then headphones on, notifications off. That's SN switching, CEN locking, DMN quieting. Déjà vu? Label it. Strong familiarity, low context. Breathe once, look for one disconfirming detail, then act on external cues. That's prefrontal reality checking without getting stuck. Finally, consolidation. Sleep binds what you rehearsed and prunes noisy weights so tomorrow's predictions are cleaner. Space your rehearsals, keep them short, and protect sleep after learning. Your co-pilot remembers what you feed it and how you feed it. The decisions before decisions evidence, Libet, and beyond. Quick reality check on free will before we go further. For decades, one result haunted this topic. In the early 1980s, Benjamin Libet measured a readiness potential in motor cortex that rose before people reported the conscious urge to flex a finger. The headline became, "Your brain decides before you do." But that summary is too simple and honestly misleading without the rest. Here's what matters. In that context, the motor system ramps automatically. Libet's task was trivial and repetitive. Flick a wrist whenever you feel like it and note the clock. The readiness potential looks like a slow build toward an action threshold. Conscious awareness shows up late in the chain, typically about 200 milliseconds before movement, while the RP often begins roughly 550 to 635 milliseconds before the action itself, and about 350 to 400 milliseconds before conscious intention. Does that mean you're a passenger? Not necessarily. Libet himself suggested a veto. You can cancel the pre-motor wave before it crosses the line. Later work supported that idea. Prefrontal control can abort late motor plans, especially when stakes rise or rules change. More recent analyses, for example, Scherger and colleagues, also show that RP can emerge from averaging spontaneous fluctuations during self-paced moves. So the finding isn't no free will. There's early subverbal preparation that your conscious system can still shape. Now zoom past single fingers. When choices involve uncertainty, payoffs, and changing goals, the neat ramp of a single readiness potential gives way to competing accumulators. Parietal and frontal populations integrate evidence. Basal ganglia help gate commitment. The Salience network flags new information. See Menon and Udin's salience-driven switching model. Default mode injects predictions. Executive cortex arbitrates. In drift diffusion language, you're continuously accumulating toward a boundary. Set the boundary high, and you decide slower with fewer errors. Set it low, and you move fast with more risk. Fatigue and stress lower that boundary, which is why you decide early and later wonder why. Add another twist. Some newer analyses argue that the classic readiness potential can emerge from averaging noisy, spontaneous fluctuations when actions are self-paced. In other words, if you tell people, move whenever, some trials will start when the background motor activity is already rising. Average those trials and it looks like a pre-programmed ramp. This doesn't erase Libet, it reframes it. Spontaneous action often rides pre-existing noise that your system is primed to harness. So what's actually happening when you feel the "I decided" moment? Your Salience network detects that the motor plan is about to cross threshold. Your executive network checks the rule set, and your default mode instantly narrates a reason. The report arrives after the machinery has momentum, but before it's irreversible. That gap is the window where implementation intentions help. If I see the buy button, then I pause and verify price. You're not freezing time, you're inserting a cheap break between readiness and release. Let's ground this with 3 quick patterns you can test. First, urge versus veto. Next time you feel a micro urge to check your phone, don't argue with the feeling. Label it. Then say, "Not this one," and let it pass. You'll notice the urge is short-lived. That's the veto. You didn't need a heroic act of will. You needed a small prefrontal nudge to keep a ramp from crossing threshold. Second, boundary setting. Before a complex decision, email you'll regret, code you can't easily roll back, raise the boundary on purpose. 2-minute rule, I must restate the problem in my own words before I click. That small friction shifts you from fast familiarity to slower context retrieval. The feeling of certainty often drops a notch, and the quality of the choice rises. Third, state control. Try the same choice tired versus rested. Sleep sharpens pattern separation and recalibrates excitability, which means fewer false matches and fewer premature commits. The decision feels different because the network dynamics are different. It isn't more willpower after sleep, it's better signal to noise. What about prediction in moral or high-stakes contexts? The logic stays the same, but the cast broadens. The anterior insula tracks bodily arousal and potential risk. Anterior cingulate monitors conflict and error likelihood. Dorsolateral prefrontal cortex holds the rule. Basal ganglia tune learning through prediction errors. If you've built clear if-then rules ahead of time, Gallwitzer's strategic automaticity, that circuitry locks them in fast. If you haven't, your narrator will improvise a reason while the habit system executes last week's pattern. This is why pre-commitment works. You're moving the work out of the fragile now and into a prepared future where the habit system can help you. If it's after 10 p.m., then I save the draft and decide tomorrow. That's not superstition. It's acknowledging that readiness ramps will fire, and you want the switchboard and the gatekeepers on your side when they do. Bottom line, yes, there are decisions before decisions, but they're not the end of the story. They're the start of a negotiation. Early readiness gives you speed. Salience tells you when it's happening. Executive control sets the boundary. The narrator explains it after. Your job is to place low-friction rules where they matter, protect sleep, so predictions stay honest, and treat certainty like a sensation to be tested, not a verdict to obey. The hidden control stack, basal ganglia, and habit engines. Under the hood, your car pilot doesn't argue in prose, it votes with loops. The basal ganglia are the gatekeepers that turn fuzzy urges into actions you actually execute, and they do it with 2 fast teachers riding shotgun, dopamine signals that grade your choices, and striatal circuits that wire repetition into reflex. Here's the simple model that explains most "why did I do that" moments. Every time you face a cue, unlock screen, kitchen, at 10 p.m., calendar ping, 2 evaluators light up. One asks, did this lead to reward? That's the reward prediction error. Better than expected dopamine blips up. Worse, it dips. The other asks, was this action predicted here? That's the action prediction error. The more an action fits the situation's groove, the stronger the do it again stamp. Value learning shapes goals. Action learning shapes habits. Your inner monologue usually arrives after those grades are already posted. Now, how does that become a habit you can feel? The striatum, sitting inside the basal ganglia, binds cues to responses through repetition. Early on, the executive network babysits. Prefrontal cortex holds the rule, salience flags the moment. You think it through. After enough clean reps, the loop runs on its own. Cue, striatum, go. That's why the first week of a new routine feels effortful, and the third week feels automatic. The controller has delegated. This is where people get fooled by motivation. You don't need more willpower. You need to place the right cue where the gate can grab it, and you need a quick reward to teach the loop. If I open the doc, then I type 3 lines and check it off. The opener is the cue. 3 lines keep the cost low. The check mark, tiny as it is a reward prediction error that nudges dopamine up. Repeat that pairing, and the sequence starts without a pep talk. Let's connect it to the map we're using. Salience detects something that matters. Your heart flicks, the inbox dings, or you glance at your to-do tile, and flips control to the network best suited for the moment. If a cue is tightly bound to a response, the striatum wins the race. If the cue is unfamiliar or the stakes are high, prefrontal holds the mic longer. Sleep, stress, and novelty slide this balance. Sleep strengthens clean cue, response bindings. Stress pushes you toward gist and old grooves. Novelty opens the window for revising the loop. 2 common confusions to clear up. First, habits aren't mindless. They're efficient. The basal ganglia compress the how, so your executive network can keep track of the why. When you feel like you woke up scrolling, that's not possession. It's the action predictor firing on a perfect cue with no friction blocking it. Second, breaking a habit isn't erasing a circuit. It's outcompeting it. You won't forget how to scroll. You will make a faster path from the same cue to a different action. So, practical livers. Start with cue control. Make the desired cue obvious and the undesired cue invisible. Phone stays in another room at night. Running shoes live by the coffee machine. The draft document opens at login, not social tabs. Next, shrink the action to reduce decision load. Your basal ganglia learn faster when the action is simple and repeatable. 3 lines, 1 paragraph, a 5-minute stretch. Then bolt on instant feedback. A tick box, a quick log, a friend's emoji, a tiny treat, anything that gives your dopamine system a clean, better than expected signal. Finally, write if-then bindings for the friction points. If I hit a hard line, then I insert a placeholder and keep moving. You're pre-authorizing the next move so the gate doesn't stall. There's a caveat. If-then plans create what researchers call strategic automaticity, fast stimulus, response links that help under pressure. But if the plan is wrong, you'll be wrong faster. Keep rules specific and review them when the evidence changes. A simple safeguard is a double-check cue for high-risk steps. If I reach for the look-alike vial, then I read the label with a finger. You're inserting a micro break without tearing out the habit. What about cravings and urges? Treat them as ramp signals, not commands. The dopaminergic go get it pulse is short. Label it, breathe once, and switch context for 10 seconds. That brief delay lets the ramp decay below the gate. Pair that with a ready alternate loop. If the snack thought pops, then I drink water and walk to the doorway. After a few successes, the action predictor learns the new path from the same cue. One more system-level move. Batch your environment by network. Create SAN zones where execution is easy and distraction costs are high. Single-purpose browser profile, app blockers, headphones with a ritual. Create DMN windows, where mind wandering is allowed on purpose. Walk without podcasts, a notebook by the couch. Teach Salience to recognize the switch. Timer starts. Lights change. Device goes on do not disturb. You're training context. Action pairs the basal ganglia can run without asking permission. The punchline is friendly. Your inner monologue is not the engine. It's the narration of what the engine decided to do. When you respect that, you stop arguing with habits and start designing for them. Place better cues, shrink the first step, reward the right move, write clean if-thens, and protect sleep, so yesterday's wins consolidate. The co-pilot will follow the paths you've paved. The default mode network, the narrator, simulator, rumination engine. Meet the voice in your head that won't shut up. The default mode network. It feels like me thinking, but functionally, it's a background narrator and simulator that stitches your past to your imagined future. When you're not locked onto a task, DMN spins up. Medial prefrontal areas weigh what this means for me. Posterior cingulate and precuneus reach into autobiographical memory, and angular regions pull language and concepts to compose the internal monologue. It's not random chatter, it's rehearsal, prediction, and story maintenance. Here's the helpful side first. DMN lets you time travel without moving. Planning a hard conversation? It runs mental role plays, swapping lines until a version feels safe enough to try. Drafting a strategy? It dredges up similar situations, extracts the gist, and blends them into a fresh plan. That's why insights often appear in the shower or on a walk. DMN is integrating memory, language, and value into a new narrative while central executive rests. Give it raw material, read broadly, observe precisely, and it recombines those pieces offline. It also builds yourself across time. The same circuitry that remembers last summer stitches a coherent through line into next month. That continuity matters. If you can predict your likely feelings and constraints tomorrow, you can write better instructions today. Implementation intentions work partly because DMN has already previewed the scene. If I'm back from lunch and open the laptop, then I write 3 lines. The simulation primes the cue. The habit engine does the rest. Now the catch. Left unattended, the narrator can turn prosecutorial. Rumination is DMN stuck on a loop, replaying threats or regrets without handing the mic to the parts that resolve things. The content feels compelling because it's stitched with vivid detail and relevance, but it rarely adds new evidence. You'll know you've crossed from useful simulation into rumination when the scene repeats with the same conclusion and your body ramps while no action becomes obvious. So how do you keep DMN as a simulator, not a spiral? Start by scheduling it. 5 to 10 minutes of deliberate mind wandering before creative work. A walk without inputs, a notebook with no prompts, gives the narrator an outlet on your terms. You're telling the Salience network, this is reflection time, which reduces intrusive rehearsal during execution. Then you close the window on purpose. Timer starts. Headphones on, notifications off. The switchboard flips to central executive and the narrator quiets. Second, constrain the plot. DMN loves open-ended why questions. They widen the search space until anything fits. Swap them for what and how questions that pull CEN into the loop. What would prove I'm making progress? How will I move the next tile? Now the narrator drafts steps, not stories. You're still using imagination, but it's tethered to cues and actions the basal ganglia can learn. Third, keep an evidence filter handy. When a thought feels true because it's vivid, tag it. Narration, not proof. If you can't find any, you still don't act on the feeling. You route to external checks. Then request one disconfirming detail. That tiny move recruits prefrontal monitoring without starting a debate with the inner voice. Over time, DMN learns the boundary. Stories are proposals until the checklist agrees. Fourth, use rituals that mark the network switch. Physical cues, closing the journal, moving to a different chair, changing the light. Teach salience to hand control to the task network. In the other direction, a brief open loop capture at day's end. Write worries and next actions, gives DMN a safe container for overnight integration. Sleep will consolidate useful threads and downweight noise. You wake with cleaner predictions and a quieter narrator. For anxiety-prone loops, add a body handle. The anterior insula, part of the salience network, watches internal sensations and can amplify DMN content when arousal spikes. A 60-second physiological sigh or paced exhale lowers the gain. The thought doesn't need convincing. The controller just needs a calmer channel to switch networks. Breath is the fastest manual control you have. Creativity tip: alternate. Short idea sprints where DMN roams on a narrow prompt. 10 bad headlines, 5 opening sentences, then CN passes to evaluate. You're separating generation from judgment to prevent the narrator from defending drafts too early. If you get stuck, feed the simulator novelty and constraints. A single image, a tight audience, a weird rule. Fresh inputs widen the combinatorics without opening the rumination door. 2 red flags to watch. If your inner monologue keeps predicting catastrophe without proposing experiments, pause it with a rule. If the same thought repeats 3 times, then I must write a testable next step. If your planning turns into scorekeeping about identity, people like me always reframe to context. In this situation, with these constraints, the next best move is DMN relaxes when the self isn't on trial. Bottom line, the default mode network is not the enemy. It's the studio where your life's drafts get written. Give it scheduled time, clear prompts, and an off switch. Let salience mark the transitions. Let the executive team turn scripts into steps. And let sleep do final edits. Your inner narrator will still talk. It'll just start serving the story you actually want to live. The Salience Network, the brain's air traffic control. Let's talk about the switchboard that keeps your mental sky from colliding. The Salience Network. Think of it as air traffic control for your mind. Its anchors, the anterior insula and dorsal anterior cingulate, are constantly scanning 2 radars at once. What out there matters right now, and what in here matters right now. The moment something spikes, an email ping, a gut flutter, a sudden idea, it clears one runway and diverts everything else. That's how you pivot from narration to execution in a beat. See Menon and Udin's model of salience-driven switching. Here's the job description in plain terms. The anterior insula is the watcher. It reads internal signals, heart rate, breath, muscle tension, and external signals, voice tone, motion, novelty. The dorsal anterior cingulate is the dispatcher. It routes resources. Down-regulate mind wandering, up-regulate attention, prep motor plans, call the checklist. Together, they're the gate that decides whether the default mode keeps talking or the central executive takes the wheel. You felt it. You're drafting a message, smooth DMN, send handoff, and suddenly a tiny beep hits like a flare. Your eyes swing. That instinctive reorientation is salience. When it's tuned well, the system flips to the right channel, urgent cue, task locks, false alarm, narration resumes. When it's mistuned, fatigue, stress, jittery caffeine, you get sticky switches. Trivial interruptions hijack focus, or important signals arrive and nothing switches at all. Now, the part most people miss: salience is context sensitive and trainable. It learns from what you reward. If your phone gets your eyes every time it buzzes, you've taught the watcher that vibration outranks internal goals. If your timer, headset, and blank document always precede progress, you've taught it that those cues predict value. The network isn't moral. It's Bayesian, recent wins move its priors. So how do you shape it? You give it clean signals and cheap tests. First, use ritualized on cues. Same seat, same light, same soundtrack. You're telling the watcher, when this pattern appears, route to execution. Layer a micro action at the start timer, headphones on, to lock the transition. Over a week, switching cost drops because the dispatcher knows the path. Second, stage off cues with intent. A short walk, notebook open, eyes unfocused. You're giving permission for DMN to come online on purpose. The payoff is twofold. Ideas arrive when invited, and they intrude less when uninvited because the network trusts there's a scheduled runway. Third, install verification hooks. Salience is fast but not omniscient. It flags what feels important, not what is. A 5 to 10 second scan and check keeps you from treating every flare as a fire. For digital interruptions, if a ping lands during a sprint, then I tag it and return at the next break. For body flares, if my chest tightens, then one slow exhale and name the cue. You're lowering arousal just enough for the dispatcher to evaluate. Fourth, design your field of view. The watcher is visual. Hide junk cues, elevate task cues, single-purpose desktop, 2 apps per workspace, phone out of sight, physical to-do tile in front of you. In a lab, you'd call this stimulus control. In your day, you'll call it relief. Fifth, give Salience a scorecard. It loves feedback. End sprints with a 30-second mark, shipped or not, next step written. You're reinforcing the association between the on ritual and a small win, which biases the next switch in your favor. That's not placebo. That's dopaminergic bookkeeping the watcher reads. Let me give you 3 micro stories. A nurse on nights pairs a chime with a 2-breath reset before walking into rooms. Over time, the sound stops spiking anxiety. It cues readiness. A developer binds compile to a 25-minute lockout of social sites. The lock becomes a Salience cue that says, "You're airborne, no gate changes mid-flight." A student starts every study block with a single page of handwriting. Within a week, the pen itself shunts her from rumination into steps. There's a pitfall: false priorities. If your environment constantly screams, Salience burns out. You'll feel flat or jumpy because the watcher can't separate signal from noise. The fix isn't discipline. It's fewer beacons, fewer tabs, fewer channels, a quieter room, a clearer runway, and one more lever you control directly: your body budget. The anterior insula weights internal signals heavily. Slight dehydration, a skipped meal, or too much coffee will warp its thresholds. A 60 to 90 second exhale bias, a glass of water, a quick walk. Those aren't wellness stickers. They're runway maintenance. You smooth the approach so the right plane lands. Train the switchboard and everything else gets easier. DMN gets its studio time without crashing the cockpit. Sen gets clean runs. Habits get their cues. And your inner voice stops feeling like traffic and starts sounding like guidance. Executive control, working memory, task sets, and system 2. Okay, so how do you actually steer all of this? Meet the executive layer, your working memory, task sets, and what people casually call system 2. Think of it as the brain's hold and route desk. It doesn't store everything forever. It keeps a handful of items active, protects them from interference, and tells the rest of the system which rulebook to use right now. Working memory first. It's your scratch pad for goals, steps, and constraints. Dorsolateral prefrontal cortex keeps those items online, while parietal regions help index and refresh them. The capacity is tight, which is why complex instructions evaporate if you don't chunk them. Practically, you get 3 levers: reduce load, refresh items, and externalize. Reduce load by making the next step so concrete it fits on a single tile. Write the subject line. Refresh by rehearsing the target in your own words before you start. Externalize by pinning key facts where your eyes land. Numbers, names, the one constraint you must not violate. Now, task sets. A task set is a bound bundle of if-then mappings, stimulus priorities, and response rules. When you switch from drafting to debugging, you don't just change content, you load a different control policy. That switch costs time. The more dissimilar the sets, the steeper the cost. You can't avoid switches, but you can batch them. Group similar operations, stage your workspace to match the current set, and mark boundaries with a ritual so the Salience network knows to hand over control. A simple timer plus a one sentence, now we're doing X under rule Y, can cut drift and slash reconfiguration lag. System 2 is the slow, deliberate mode that checks evidence against rules and keeps habits in line when the stakes are high. It's not magical, it's metabolically pricey. That's why it feels tiring to hold a plan in mind while resisting every ping. The trick isn't to run System 2 all day, it's to reserve it for bottlenecks and install scaffolds so routine moments don't need it. Here's how to make that real in minutes, not months. 1. Write preloads for working memory. Before a block, jot the 3 items your mind must keep active. Target, constraint, stop condition. Target, outline section. Constraint, no research tabs. Stop 30 minutes or first clean pass. You've given prefrontal cortex a crisp header. Everything else can fall away. 2. Protect the lane. Working memory fails most often from interference, not weakness. Hide rival cues. 1 window, 2 tabs, no dock badges. Paper next to keyboard for the quick offload. When an unrelated thought pops, capture it and return. The capture is not a curtsy. It's how you prevent a context switch from erasing the stack. 3. Set implementation intentions at the exact friction points. You already mapped where you slip? Bind a cue to the compensating move. If I hit a confusing sentence, then I rewrite it in dumb language first. If a ping lands mid-sprint, then I tag it for the break. You're turning vague ideals into task set entries the gate can execute fast. 4. Rehearse the rule in the voice you'll hear later. Working memory is social. Inner speech boosts maintenance. Say it quietly. We're in check facts mode, not fix typos mode. That micro phrase recruits the same networks that hold the rule, keeping it live when the habit tries to steal the wheel. 5. Batch and bridge. Stack similar subtasks to reduce switches, then add a bridge line that hands the next set a foothold. Next segment starts with the definition. When you stop, write the literal first keystroke you'll make tomorrow. That's a warm start for working memory and a clean cue for the basal ganglia. 6. Raise or lower the decision boundary on purpose. For risky steps, install a 10-second check, the smallest break that forces context retrieval. Restate the problem, confirm units, finger trace the label. For low-stakes reps, lower friction shamelessly. Templates, snippets, defaults. Save System 2 for the parts that can hurt you. 7. Keep a body budget for control. Executive timing slips when you're underslept, overcaffeinated, or hungry. 1 slow exhale before a switch, water nearby, short breaks at natural boundaries. That's not wellness fluff. It's stabilizing thresholds, so the right task set loads and sticks. Test it now. Pick 1 task, write target, constraint, stop, speak your rule, start a timer. At the first snag, fire your if-then. At the first ping, tag it. Stop on time, write the bridge line. That sequence isn't harsh discipline. It's good engineering. You're giving a tiny, limited control system the best chance to shine, then handing routine to loops that don't need supervision. That's executive control used well. The inner monologue. Narrator, not author. Your inner monologue feels like the captain, but it's the narrator. Fast, confident, and not always in charge. It stitches scenes, meanings, and see. Next lines after other systems have already nudged the wheel. That's not a flaw. It's how a predictive brain keeps a coherent story while the habit engine, the switchboard, and the task team do most of the flying. Here's the practical shift. Stop asking, how do I force better thoughts? Start asking, which system just handed my narrator this script, and what do I want it to hand over next? You'll notice 3 recurring voices when you listen closely. First, rehearsal mode. You're pacing, crafting a message, trying lines in your head. That's DMN pulling episodes and language into a draft. It feels like progress because the scenes are vivid, but nothing ships until CEN turns scripts into steps. The fix isn't think harder. It's an explicit handoff. Give the narrator an output format the executor can use. Speak a 1-sentence target, write the first keystroke, then start a short timer. You're moving from say to do without arguing with the voice. Second, justification mode. You catch yourself mid-scroll telling a very reasonable story about why a break right now is deserved. That's the monologue explaining an action the basal ganglia already initiated on a perfect cue. Treat it like color commentary. You don't shut it up, you tag it. Narration. Then you insert a tiny guardrail. Not this one. The urge passes because the ramp decays and the narrator quickly finds a new plot to explain your next choice. Third, rumination mode. Same scene, same conclusion, rising arousal. The narrator is stuck in a loop without new evidence. The fastest exit is mechanical. Change state first, content second. One slow exhale, stand. 3 steps away, eyes on a physical next action. Once your insula quiets, you give DMN a constrained prompt. List 3 tests I can run tomorrow. The story resumes, but now it's drafting experiments, not indictments. Let's make the narrator useful on purpose. Prime it. Before work that needs ideas, feed it specifics. A tight audience, 1 constraint, 1 example. Tell it, give me 5 rough openings that obey this rule. Walk for 5 minutes with no inputs. You've set the search space and the stop condition. You'll get usable prototypes instead of free-floating worry. Pin it. During execution, buy silence with a single held line. Say quietly, we're in check facts mode. That phrase keeps the right task set live in working memory. When the monologue wanders into a different genre, styling, self-judgment, you repeat the line and return. You're not fighting thoughts, you're keeping the correct rule on top. Bound it. Give the voice an exit. I capture worries at 4:50 p.m. A 2-minute open loop dump tells the narrator there's a safe runway later. It intrudes less at 10 a.m. because it trusts you'll listen on schedule. And because sleep consolidates what you tag, your morning script is cleaner. Reality check it. When a thought feels true because it's vivid, ask for one disconfirming detail. If you can't find any, you still don't act on the feeling. You route to external cues. That keeps prefrontal in the loop without starting a debate you can't win on vibes. Personalize it. Give your narrator jobs it's great at. Rehearsing empathy, pre-writing transitions, drafting if-then rules. If a tough question lands, then I buy 1 breath and ask for an example. The inner voice loves lines. Give it lines that help. Final move. Make narration a tool, not an identity. I'm having the thought that creates just enough distance for Salience to switch networks. From there, it's rituals, timers, and tiny bridge steps. The monologue will keep talking. You'll just be the one assigning scripts. Glitches in the matrix, split brain, neglect, confabulation. Now let's stress test the co-pilot by looking at cases where the narrator, switchboard, and habit engine fall out of alignment. These aren't party tricks. They're clean windows into what the inner voice actually does and what it invents when it has to keep the story coherent. Start with split brain patients, people whose corpus callosum, the bridge between hemispheres, was surgically severed to control seizures. Each hemisphere still does its job, but communication is throttled. Here's the wild part. If you flash a command to the right hemisphere, say stand up, the person stands. Ask them why, and the left hemisphere, which handles most language, didn't get the memo. It manufactures a reason on the spot. I needed a drink. That's the interpreter at work. The behavior came first. The DMN stitched a plausible cause after. It's not lying, it's keeping the narrative continuous while control was driven by a channel it couldn't hear. What does that tell us? The inner monologue is a meaning engine, not a command center. When output arrives from habit loops, salience alarms, or nonverbal plans, the narrator backfills. In everyday life, that happens quietly. I scrolled because I needed a break, and you never noticed the order. Split brain just makes the lag obvious. Next, hemispatial neglect, commonly after right parietal damage. Patients can eat from only the right side of the plate, shave only the right cheek, and swear the other side doesn't exist. It's not a vision problem, it's a salience and spatial attention failure. The switchboard can't flag left side inputs as relevant, so the CEN never routes resources there, and the DMN narrates a world with half the map missing. Show them a drawing with a clock's numbers all crammed on the right. They'll say, looks fine. Push gently, turn the page, cue the left with touch or sound, and sometimes awareness snaps back for a moment. That flip is the salience network briefly reclaiming a runway. Lesson for your inner voice. If salience can't mark it, it might as well not exist to you, and the narrator will defend that absence. In normal states, that shows up as blind spots. ignoring disconfirming details, missing quiet cues, especially under stress or fatigue. The fix isn't arguing with the story, it's changing the cues so the switchboard can reroute attention. Now, confabulation, the cleanest example of narration outrunning evidence. After certain frontal or memory system injuries, people produce detailed, confident stories about things that didn't happen. Not to deceive, but to fill gaps. Ask, "What did you do this morning?" And you'll hear a fluent account stitched from real fragments used in the wrong context. The hippocampus can't supply a tagged episode. The DMN, eager to maintain continuity, pulls a nearest neighbor script, and the prefrontal brake, damaged or tired, fails to veto. Confidence stays high because fluency is intact. Ease feels like truth. You've experienced a gentle version during everyday memory slips. You remember sending an email because you rehearsed it so vividly. You remember parking on level 3 because that's your Tuesday pattern. When prefrontal control is taxed, the brain waits gist and procedural fluency. You're not a liar. You're a storyteller, smoothing a jump cut. Tie this back to the map you're using. Split brain exposes a divided control path and a narrator that must explain without access. Neglect shows how salience gating can erase half the inputs, and the monologue will defend the edited frame. Confabulation shows the DMN's default to coherence when hippocampal context is weak and the executive veto is low. 3 different lesions, 1 consistent theme. The inner voice explains. It does not guarantee access to the raw facts. So what do you do with that? 3 compact safeguards. 1, external proof beats internal fluency. If it matters, prefer checklists, tags, screenshots, readbacks. 2, build disconfirmation into the plot. When a memory or hunch feels too smooth, ask for the one detail that would break it. If none appears, you still test outside your head. 3, protect the veto. Sleep, brief resets, and small frictions give prefrontal control enough leverage to block a pretty story that's wrong. The co-pilot isn't broken in these cases. It's overachieving its real job. Keep the story continuous while the rest of the plane flies. Respect that. And when you feel your own narrator sprinting ahead of evidence, don't fight the voice. Change the cues, check the logs, and let the switchboard help you load the right map. Interoception and body budget. Feelings as data, not orders. Before a thought turns into a sentence, your body is sending status reports. Interoception is that inside sensing channel. Heartbeat, breath depth, gut stretch, temperature, CO2, glucose, muscle tension, encoded and forwarded to the Salience network, especially the anterior insula. Think of it as your body budget dashboard, in line with allostasis and interoceptive inference accounts. See Barrett and colleagues. When the budget trends low or volatile, Salience boosts the "this matters" tag on whatever you're doing. The feeling lands as urgency, dread, or a burst of energy. Crucially, it's a value signal, not a verdict. Data, not orders. Here's why that matters. The same email can feel threatening at 11 p.m. after caffeine and no dinner, or routine at 10 a.m. after sleep and a walk. The words didn't change. Your budget did. The anterior insula weights bodily cues heavily when deciding whether to flip control. Ramped arousal shoves you toward old grooves. A steady budget lets executive control hold the mic longer. If you've ever felt a story in your head intensify as your chest tightens, that's DMN borrowing the body's volume knob. Use that to your advantage in 2 steps. Label, then level. First, label the signal in plain language. Body alarm, not proof. Naming separates the data from the story so salience can reevaluate rather than reflexively switch. Second, level the budget with small mechanical moves that shift thresholds quickly. Fastest levers in order. 1. The physiological sigh. 2. Short inhales through the nose, long, slow exhale through the mouth. Repeat for 30 to 60 seconds. CO2 drops, heart rate settles, insula gain lowers. 2. Water. Mild dehydration masquerades as irritability, fog, and "this feels off." A glass stabilizes within minutes. 3. Posture and gaze. Stand, shoulders back, eyes to the horizon for 10 seconds. That postural change recruits autonomic balance. Salience recalibrates. 4. Temperature. Cool face or hands briefly, warm core later. Thermal inputs are potent salience cues. 5. Glucose timing. A small, protein-lean snack when genuinely empty. Skip sugar spikes that crash the hour after. Pair these with a cueing rule so they trigger before stories spiral. If my chest tightens or I reread the same line twice, then one size cycle and water. You're teaching the switchboard. Check the budget before awarding the sirens. Over a week, the urge to react softens because the urgent tag arrives less often. Now, the inverse. How to raise arousal cleanly when you're flat. Bright light on the eyes in the morning, a 2 to 5 minute brisk walk, or a cold splash to the face nudges noradrenergic tone just enough to make CEN lock easier. Then aim the energy with a tight target. Write 3 lines. Avoid flooding. Too much caffeine and novelty puts Salience into pinball mode, flipping you between pings because everything feels hot. Interoception also explains a lot of Déjà almost moments. When fatigue blurs pattern separation, the familiarity pulse fires early. If your body budget is jangly, Salience boosts that pulse into conviction. That's why the same aisle can feel spookily already when you're underslept. Treat it like before. Label, one breath, one disconfirming detail. Proceed on external cues. You're not calming the universe, you're calming the waiting algorithm. 2 small daily rituals train this channel. Morning scan, 30 seconds to note. Breath, heartbeat, tension, belly. No analysis, just tuning the meter so the watcher can tell jitter from genuine signal later. Evening download, 2 minutes to list open loops and 1 next step. DMN gets a container, sleep can consolidate, the next day's budget starts steadier. Design helps too. Batch tasks by arousal. Creative generation after a walk. Detail checks after a snack and water. High stakes sends only when the budget is steady. Use physical zones as budget cues. Standing desk for short sprints, chair by a window for reflection. You're binding interoceptive state to task sets, so the switchboard learns the right matches. Last move, borrow social physiology. A quick read back with a teammate slows breath and anchors attention. A laugh resets autonomic tone. Even a message you send yourself, we're in check facts mode, counts as social in the brain and firms the rule. Feelings arrive fast because your body reports first. Let them inform, not command. Label the signal, level the budget, then decide with the right network online. Plasticity windows, sleep, spikes, and rehearsal. Your co-pilot learns in waves, not lines. There are windows when circuits are easy to reshape, and windows when they're locked for maintenance. If you treat every hour the same, you fight the system. If you time practice to the biology, sleep, brief spikes of arousal, and short rehearsals, you get more change for less effort. Start with sleep, because nothing else sticks without it. During deep non-REM, hippocampal sharp wave ripples replay recent patterns while cortex listens and edits. That's where yesterday's fragile steps move from held in working memory to available with less effort. In REM, population activity gets recalibrated. Excitability renormalizes, so tomorrow's learning isn't saturated. Practically, that means 3 moves. 1, protect the sleep after learning. Don't cram past midnight and expect retention. 2, do a 2-minute open loop dump before bed. Next actions and worries, so DMN has labeled threads to consolidate. 3, accept the overnight upgrade. Hard lines often feel easier in the morning because the network changed, not because you found grit overnight. Now arousal spikes, the good kind. A brief rise in alertness opens plasticity gates. Novelty, a cold splash, bright morning light, a brisk 2-minute walk, a single cup of coffee early in the day. They prime neuromodulators that mark this matters. The trick is dose and timing. Too much and Salience ping-pongs you. Too late and sleep suffers. Use a small spike to start a focus block, then let breathing and simple, repeatable action hold you. After a win, pause long enough to feel the success. That tiny better-than-expected moment is a dopaminergic teaching signal. Your basal ganglia will be faster to traverse the same path next time. Rehearsal is where you tell the system exactly what to keep. Spaced, short, and specific beats, long and heroic. Spacing works because each return reactivates the trace in a slightly different context, inviting hippocampus to bind a more generalizable pattern while pruning noise. Think 10 to 20-minute sprints separated by hours, then a next day revisit. Keep the target narrow. Check units with a finger is teachable. Be careful is not. End every rep with a clean cue and a small reward. Checkbox, log tick, a shipped line. You're pairing the start and the end so the loop hardens. Active recall is the rehearsal your co-pilot understands best. Don't reread, retrieve. Close the tab, Restate the rule in your own words and do one application from memory. When you fail, that error isn't a verdict. It's a plasticity tag. Correct it immediately and move on. A pattern. Struggle, correct, stop, then sleep. The replay will favor what you rescued. State control determines whether practice writes to the right addresses. After a walk or brief breath work, do generative tasks. Draft options, brainstorm tests. After a snack and water, run detailed checks, labels, units, proofs. In low arousal mid-afternoon, batch low-stakes reps to feed habits without expensive control. Near day end, do the 2-minute capture so DMN has a container. You're matching task to body so Salience routes cleanly and consolidation knows what to keep. Use implementation intentions to bind rehearsals to moments. If I sit down at 9, then I write 3 lines. If I compile, then I run the checklist. Keep them surgical, review weekly. Rules that earn wins stay. Ones that cause friction get rewritten. Remember the caution. Strategic automaticity is powerful and blind, as Gallwitzer's work shows. Make it precise and let external checks guard high-risk steps. One more lever. Interleave. Once a groove forms, mix cousins. 2 problems from topic A, 2 from B. The switch forces retrieval under light interference, which is what real performance looks like. It costs more now, it pays with durable access later. Finally, zoom out. Learning follows phases. Induction during the rep, early consolidation over hours, systems level reorganization over days, maintenance over weeks, respect the clock, stop reps before quality drops, sleep soon after meaningful advances, return tomorrow. The narrator will call this patience. The co-pilot calls it proper scheduling of plasticity windows. The co-pilot protocol, steering without willpower. Here's the playbook that lets your co-pilot fly the plane while you stop white-knuckling the yoke. It's not motivation. It's sequencing cues, state, and tiny rules so the right network turns on at the right time and habits carry you the rest of the way. Start with a 2-minute pre-flight. Write 3 lines. Target, constraint, stop. Target, draft the opening. Constraint, no research tabs. Stop. 25 minutes or first clean pass. Say it quietly once. You've loaded the task set into working memory, given Salience a clear priority, and told the habit engine what done enough looks like. Next, fire the launch ritual. Same seat, same light, same soundtrack, timer on, headphones on. That combo is your Salience cue. You're teaching the switchboard. When this pattern appears, route to execution. Keep it identical across days. You want 0 debate at the gate. Now lower friction to almost nothing. Make the first action comically small and concrete. Type 3 ugly lines. The basal ganglia learn faster on repeatable, low-cost moves. After those 3 lines, press a physical checkbox or log the micro win. That tiny, better-than-expected blip is the dopamine receipt that hardens the loop. Guard the lane with 2 if-then bindings. 1 for pings. If a notification lands, then I tag it and stay until the timer ends. 1 for snags. If a sentence confuses me, then I rewrite it in dumb language first. These are strategic automations. They don't ask System 2 to argue. They give the gate a faster response. Your body is part of the protocol. Before launch, 1 physiological sigh. 2 short inhales, long exhale. Water within reach. You've leveled the body budget so the anterior insula doesn't uprank false alarms. For long blocks, add a mid-sprint breath at minute 10. It's a runway sweep, not a break. Anchor attention with a single held line. Whisper the active rule. We're in check facts mode, or generate, don't judge. Inner speech keeps the right task set live. When the narrator wanders, repeat the line once and return. No debates with thoughts, just load the rule again. Batch your switches. Group cousins, outline with outline, email with email. Use bridges between blocks. Write the literal first keystroke you'll take in the next segment. That bridge line is a warm cue for the habit system and a foothold for working memory tomorrow. Install a micro veto. If an urge spikes, phone, snack, tab, label it. Not this one. Wait 10 seconds. Most ramps decay under that delay. If it persists, route it to a break tile, not into the block. You're not winning by force. You're letting physics of the urge expire. Set a decision boundary on purpose for risky steps. If I touch a lookalike label, then I finger trace the name and dose. If I'm about to send, then I restate the request in one line. These are 10-second breaks that force context retrieval before release. Close the loop cleanly. When the timer ends, mark shipped or not, write the bridge line, and do a 2-minute open loops dump. Worries, next actions. You've told DMN what to work on later and freed send to stand down without rumination. Protect consolidation. Space small reps across the day, then sleep. No heroics at midnight. You're moving traces from fragile and expensive to cheap and available. Tomorrow's start will feel easier because the wiring changed. Design your field. Single-purpose desktop, 2 tabs, no badges, phone out of sight, physical to do in sight. 1 seat for execution, 1 chair for reflection. You're shaping Salience priors so the watcher picks your cues over the worlds. Tune arousal. Use a short walk or bright light to start. Use breath to lower. Avoid stacking caffeine, novelty, and alerts. That makes Salience pinball. Aim for steady, not hyped. Schedule DMN on purpose. 5 minutes of unguided thought before creative work. Constrain it with a prompt. 5 bad openings, then switch. End of day 2-minute capture so sleep can stitch and prune. Audit weekly. Keep the rituals that bought wins. Rewrite rules that caused friction. Strategic automaticity is powerful and blind. Make it precise and guard high-risk steps with verification. Finally, socialize your cues. Teach a teammate your pause words, tag it, read back, and echo theirs. Shared phrases make the break cheaper under pressure. That's the protocol. Pre-flight in 2 minutes, launch ritual, tiny first step, 2 if-thens, breath and water, held rule, batch and bridge, micro veto, decision breaks, clean close, sleep. No pep talks, just switches, loops, and timing arranged, so your co-pilot flies the route you chose. Free will, but make it useful. Compatibilist playbook. Let's make free will practical. Not metaphysics, not debates about determinism. A compatibilist playbook says you're free when your actions flow from goals you endorse, guided by systems you can shape. You don't pick the weather, you pick the route, the timing, and the gear. Here's how to turn that into moves you can actually run. And yes, the dopamine system is both a learning signal, reward prediction error, and a motivator that biases what you pursue next. Start with authored constraints. Freedom isn't doing anything, it's doing the right thing when it counts. So pre-decide your lines. Never send without a 1-line restatement. Write a tiny constitution for high-risk moments. 3-inch never withouts and 3 always firsts. Never dose without finger tracing the label. Never buy on first sight. Always breathe once. Always state the target, constraint, stop. Always tag pings for the break. You're defining the boundaries your executive system can enforce fast. Next, align loops with values. Pick 1 value, accuracy, kindness, autonomy, and translate it into a cue action rule you can rehearse. Accuracy becomes, if I feel rushed, then I read out loud once. Kindness becomes, if a tough message lands, then I ask for an example. Autonomy becomes, if a platform lures me, then I close for 10 seconds and return on purpose. Values turn abstract freedom into concrete bindings. The basal ganglia can learn. Own the switchboard. Freedom requires competent switching, out of rumination when action matters, into reflection when strategy matters. Schedule both. A 5-minute ideas roam before creative work, then a hard switch. Timer, headphones, single window. End of day, a 2-minute capture so mind-wandering has a container. You're training Salience to respect your agenda, not the loudest ping. Set decision boundaries intentionally. Low stakes, low boundary. Ship drafts, run reps. High stakes, higher boundary. Install a 10-second break that forces context retrieval. If the stakes are above X, then I restate the problem and verify the critical unit. That's compatibilist freedom. You choose the threshold that matches consequences. Upgrade your veto. A useful will isn't heroic, it's timely. Label urges as not this one, delay 10 seconds, and have a prepared alternate. Craving is a ramp, not a command. Your freedom lives in that short delay and the ready next step. Manage your body budget like it matters, because it does. Underslept, overcaffeinated, underfueled brains hand control to habits and familiar stories. Sleep consolidates the rules you meant to keep. A single physiological sigh lowers false alarms. Water steadies thresholds. This isn't wellness for its own sake. It's preserving the veto and the check. Use strategic automaticity with guardrails. Implementation intentions make you fast where you want to be fast. But blind speed is risky. Pair each if then with a verification for lookalike traps. If the vial looks right, then I finger trace the name. Speed plus proof is the freedom you can defend. Externalize truth. Compatibilist freedom trusts logs over vibes. Checklists, readbacks, screenshots, tags, they're not insults. They're extensions of your prefrontal brake. When fluency feels like truth, the log is your reality anchor. Rehearse identity in the smallest possible unit. Say it as a line your narrator can memorize. I'm the person who writes the stop line before I start. I'm the person who breathes once before I reply. Sub 5-second identities travel. They survive stress. They compound. Anticipate failure, then script resilience. Freedom isn't perfection, it's recovery speed. Write an oops protocol you can run without shame. Label it, log it, fix one step, sleep, one clean rep tomorrow, blame burns willpower. Protocols rebuild it. Practice structural mercy. Reduce the number of beacons screaming for salience. One screen, 2 tabs, no badges. Distinct seats for execution and reflection. Less noise, more agency. Finally, close loops and let sleep do its job. Wins get a checkbox, worries get captured, tomorrow's bridge line gets written, then you stop. Overnight, excitability resets, traces consolidate, predictions clean up. You wake with more usable freedom than you went to bed with. That's the playbook. Author constraints you want. Bind values to cues. Train the switch. Set boundaries to match stakes. Keep a sharp veto to match stakes. Keep a sharp veto. Maintain the body budget. Pair speed with verification. Trust the outside world for checks. Shrink identity to lines. Script recovery. Quiet the runway. Sleep. Freedom. Compatibilist style is engineered, not imagined. Case studies, cravings, procrastination, anger, rumination. Let's run 4 real moments through the Copilot protocol so you can hear how the systems hand the wheel off. Cravings first. It's 9:30 p.m., you pass the kitchen, and a sharp, go-get-it pulse hits. That's a dopaminergic ramp tied to a perfect cue. Location, time, lighting. Lighting up a well-worn striatal path. Open pantry, grab snack. Don't debate the feeling. Tag it. Urge, not order. 1 physiological sigh, 2 short inhales, long exhale, then water. You've leveled the body budget and bought 10 seconds for the ramp to decay. Fire your if-then. If snack thought pops, then I pour seltzer and walk to the doorway. You change state before content could recruit narration. Then a tiny win. Tick the pass box. That little better than expected blip is the teaching signal. Tomorrow, that same hallway cue is a hair less sticky. Now, procrastination. A student has a blank doc, 3 unread research tabs, and a narrator writing elegant reasons to start fresh tomorrow. The fix isn't guilt. It's a clean pre-flight. Target, constraint, stop. Target, draft opening. Constraint, no new tabs. Stop, 20 minutes or the first pass. Launch ritual. Same seat, light, soundtrack, timer. First step, so small it's unserious. 3 ugly lines, then a physical checkbox. 2 guardrails. If a ping lands, tag it and stay. And if a sentence confuses me, rewrite it in dumb language first. 1 quiet line held in working memory. Generate, don't judge. Keeps the correct task set live. The narrator will still pitch arguments. You don't negotiate. You reload the rule and type the next bad line. At the bell, write a bridge line. Next sentence starts with the definition. Close, log shift or not, capture open loops for DMN to work overnight. The next day feels easier because the wiring changed. Anger in the wild. A nurse gets a curt remark at 3 a.m. Chest spikes, jaw sets. Salience flags threat. DMN starts composing a defense. Label the signal. Body alarm. 1 physiological sigh, eyes soft to the horizon. Now a 10-second boundary. If hot, then confirm facts first. She restates what she heard and asks for specifics. The dorsal ACC just bought time for prefrontal control to load a different task set. Problem solve, not prosecute. Implementation intention for kindness helps. If a tough message lands, then ask for an example. She writes the note, then later runs an oops protocol in reverse. Log the trigger, the breath, the question that worked. Next time, the same cue binds to the calm response faster. Rumination. A founder wakes at 2 a.m. replaying a board comment. DMN is stitching a loop. Same scene, same conclusion, rising arousal. First, change state before content. 1 minute of paced exhale, then a pen and a 2-minute open loops dump. Constrain the plot with a prompt. List 3 tests I can run tomorrow. That flips narration into drafting experiments. If the loop resurges, add a body budget nudge, water, posture shift, and a boundary. If the same thought repeats 3 times, then I must write a testable next step. Close the notebook, dark room, sleep. In the morning, a 5-minute walk with 1 constraint, 5 bad openings for the update. Feeds DMN on purpose. Then a timer and check facts mode, hands to CEN. The story stops owning the behavior. Quick micro stories to feel the edges. A paramedic feels a snack urge on the drive home. Label, sigh, water, alternate loop. Call a friend for 2 minutes, and a tick. A coder trapped in tab opening procrastination writes target, constraint, stop, and sets a 15-minute lockout. First keystrokes are ugly, checkbox fires anyway. A teacher catches anger rising in a parent meeting. Breathes once, asks, "Can you give me 1 example?" DMN cools, specifics anchor. A grad student stuck in a worry spiral sets a rule. If it repeats thrice, I must write the smallest experiment. The pen breaks the loop, the breath prepared. 2 pitfalls and fixes. If thens are too vague, be disciplined, they don't compile. Make them surgical, cue, action, context. If strategic automaticity goes too far, you'll be wrong faster. Pair speed with verification at high-risk steps. Finger trace the label, read the 1-line request out loud, and always close with consolidation. Space tiny reps, end with a bridge line, and protect the sleep after meaningful advances. Plasticity does the heavy lifting while you're off duty. Same engine, 4 problems, 1 pattern. Label signals, level the budget, load a tiny rule, and let small wins harden the path you want. Metrics that move behavior. What to track, what to ignore. If you want your co-pilot to fly better, stop tracking vibes and start tracking variables the brain actually uses. Good metrics are immediate, observable, and tied to the systems we've been steering. Salience, executive control, habits, and consolidation. Bad metrics are lagging, identity-loaded, and easy to game. Track starts, not hours. Did I launch the ritual and take the first tiny step? A daily launch count beats time on task, because initiation is the bottleneck Salience must clear. 1 check per block trains the watcher that your on cues predict reward. Track shipped, not perfect. Did something leave my head and hit the world? Emails sent, lines drafted, tests run. These are dopaminergic receipts. Perfection metrics freeze executive control. Shipped metrics feed basal ganglia loops that make the next start cheaper. Track adherence to if-thens at the friction point. Pings tag during sprints. Labels finger, trace before dosing. 1 breath before replying. These are your strategic automaticities. Fast, blind rules that need counts, not essays. The count shapes priors in the switchboard. Track state flips, not mood. How many clean switches from rumination to execution and back? Use a tiny mark each time you deploy the breath, the line, or the walk and actually change mode. Salience learns that your cues matter more than pings. Track bridge lines written. That single sentence you leave for future you reduces working memory load and cuts reconfiguration lag. 1 tick per block predicts tomorrow's friction. Track spacing, not marathons. Number of space reps on X this week. Space recalls drive consolidation. Heroic crams do not. Put small boxes across days and fill them. The pattern teaches your hippocampus when to replay. Track sleep after meaningful advances. A simple slept 0 goes 7H after a win. Flag explains retention, and tomorrow's start costs better than motivation diaries. If it's red, don't blame willpower. Fix the window. Track body budget moves, not feelings about feelings. Physiological size use water before blocks, walks between sets. These lower false alarms in the anterior insula, counts, not journaling, retrain thresholds. Track error catches at the decision boundary. Readbacks done, units confirmed, screenshots saved. These are the breaks that keep speed from biting. Reward them like wins. They are. What to ignore? Ignore total hours, average focus, and other mushy aggregates. They're easy to inflate and don't map to any single network's job. Ignore streaks for their own sake. They make misses catastrophic. If you use streaks, cap the penalty 2-day grace. Ignore identity scores. Was I disciplined? They invite narration and rumination, not action. Build a 1-minute scoreboard that fits on a sticky note. Launches. shift, if then hits, ping dose, breath, state flips, exec, reflect bridge, lines, space reps on X, sleep after win, body budget, sigh, water, walk decision breaks, read back units. End each day by ticking boxes, writing 2 wins, 1 rewrite. Wins reinforce salience. The rewrite updates the if-then that didn't compile. Make it more surgical. Weekly, some boxes. Pick 1 lever to nudge. More launches, firmer breaks, earlier sleep. Do not chase all at once. For teams, surface the same leading indicators. Start counts, shift, readbacks, bridge lines. Keep them local and blameless. Shared phrases, tag it, read back, plus visible ticks make the break cheap and the launch automatic. Finally, tie metrics to moments. Put the tally where you start, on the keyboard, the notebook, the cart. Every launch gives you a chance to mark, and every mark tells your co-pilot, that move mattered. That's how numbers become nudges, and nudges become a nervous system that flies the route you meant to take. Environment as autopilot. Defaults, friction, social gravity. Your brain loves the path of least resistance, so make the path you want the easiest one. Start with defaults. Preload what happens by itself. Laptop opens to a single-purpose workspace. Timer starts on launch. Document template waiting. Put tools in reach, temptations out of reach. That's friction design. 2 apps visible. Everything else 1 extra click away. Phone out of sight, not on silent. A bowl of water, not a bowl of snacks. You're not using willpower, you're changing the cost function. Next, shape your field. Label shelves, color code cables, pin 1 physical card with today's target constraint, stop. The watcher reads what your eyes see. Make the right cue loud and local. Now recruit social gravity. Share tiny public commitments and the words that trigger breaks. Read back, tag it, pause point. Pair up for start bells, 15-minute co-work launches, then go heads down. Keep stakes small and frequent, so momentum compounds without shame spirals. Design traffic flow. 1 chair for execution, 1 for reflection. Moving seats flips task sets without arguing. Put the printer or kettle at a short walk, that's your reset loop. Finally, set fail-safes. Lock sites during sprints. Default your calendar to busy blocks. Alerts batch at 25 and 55. The environment runs the play. You just press go. Energy management, sleep, light, movement, fuel, all the tactics you've learned fall flat if the system's underpowered. Energy isn't motivational fluff. It's how you keep the right networks online long enough to do real work. Think of this as infrastructure. Sleep sets the capacity. Light sets the clock. Movement sets the gain. Fuel sets the stability. Sleep first, because it's upstream of everything. When you sleep after practice, the hippocampus replays what matters while cortex edits and stores it. Deep non-REM strengthens the traces you'll need tomorrow. REM resets excitability so you don't wake saturated and twitchy. Practically, that means you guard 2 windows: the sleep after meaningful advances and a consistent anchor for your wake time. If you can't extend total hours, protect the timing. A short open loops dump before bed. 2 minutes to list tomorrow's first move. Gives your DMN labeled threads to consolidate so it doesn't chew on you at 2 a.m. Keep caffeine earlier, screens warmer, and make your last 10 minutes boring on purpose. You're not chasing perfect sleep. You're giving consolidation a fair shot, so tomorrow's start costs less. Light is the steering wheel for your clock. Morning light on the eyes tells your system day started, nudging cortisol and body temperature in the right direction for focus a bit later. 10 minutes outside within an hour of waking, longer if it's overcast, does more for alertness than any motivation quote. You're teaching your salience network when to be on and when to stand down. In the evening, dim and shift down the color temperature an hour before bed. If you must work late, keep lighting warm and peripheral, not a blue spotlight to the face. And if you cross time zones, let light do the heavy lifting. Morning exposure at the new local time, short walks, and patience. Your network's switch cleaner when the clock isn't confused. Movement is your volume knob. A 2 to 5 minute brisk walk before a focus block raises alertness, just enough to make the gate click without tipping you into pinball. If you feel stuck mid-sprint, a single lap down the hall or 10 slow air squats will do more than wrestling your thoughts. When arousal runs hot, racing heart, tight chest, use the physiological sigh you've already learned. 2 short inhales, long exhale, repeat for 30 to 60 seconds. You're not trying to be zen. You're lowering insula gain, so the urgent tag doesn't hijack the task set. Micro movement between blocks acts like a reset. End one scene, begin another, so your switchboard can load the right rules. Save the long workouts for outside peak focus times. Heavy training is great for mood and sleep, but often leaves a temporary attention dip. Fuel is stability, not heroics. Your brain runs on a steady body budget. Start the day with light, water, and something small if you wake flat. Delay heavy meals until your first block is shipped. Through the day, think, trim the spikes. Massive sugar dumps and 3 coffees at 3 p.m. give you jitter, then crash. A simple rhythm works. Water at every start, a protein-lean snack when genuinely hungry, caffeine early in the day if at all, and finish your last dose with plenty of time before sleep. If you're bonking, headachy, rereading, grumpy, treat it like an engineering fault. Water, a brief walk, a small snack, then restart. Don't debate it with your inner narrator. Fix the underlying state and return to the rule. Pull this together as a tiny protocol you can actually run. Morning, light to the eyes, water, a 2-minute walk, and a single line on paper. Target.
Constraint. Stop. You've set the clock, the budget, and the task. Pre-block. 1 physiological sigh, sip of water, 3 ugly lines to launch. Movement primes, fuel steadies, breath lowers false alarms. Between blocks, micro walk or stretch, water, bridge line. You reset state without falling into a scroll hole. Afternoon. Push caffeine aside. Use light movement to re-raise alertness. Batch low-stakes reps when energy dips instead of forcing high-stakes work. Evening. 2-minute capture log. Open loops in tomorrow's first keystroke. Then dim lights. Light snack if needed. And let sleep do consolidation you can't brute force. 2 common snags and clean fixes. If you tell yourself you're a night owl, but your mornings are chaos and your nights are doom scrolling, try moving just your light and first start cue earlier by 30 minutes for a week. Don't argue identity, nudge the clock. If you think movement wastes time, test a 90-second brisk hallway walk before your next focus block and notice how much faster the gate opens. Energy management isn't a side quest. It's how you keep the Salience network from crying wolf, give prefrontal control leverage when it matters, and make plasticity windows open on schedule. You don't need perfection. You need a few reliable levers you pull the same way every day. Advanced tactics, mental simulation, constraints, and risk. Let's turn the narrator into a flight simulator you actually benefit from. Mental simulation isn't daydreaming. It's pre-training the loops you'll need under pressure, so your co-pilot recognizes the cues and runs the right script fast. Start small with 1-scene sims. Take an upcoming moment with stakes. A tough call, a code deploy, a med pass, a presentation pivot. Close your eyes for 60 seconds and run 1 clean take using only observable steps and the lines you've already assigned. See the cue, feel the breath, hear yourself say the check line, do the verification ship. No heroics, no montage. You're binding sensory cues to actions and inner speech your basal ganglia can memorize. Then run the glitch cut. Same scene with 1 friction. The question is vague, the label looks similar, the slide won't load. Watch yourself hit the break you chose. 1 breath, restate, verify, or finger trace, and proceed. 2 reps, 2 outcomes, and your co-pilot has a route for both. Now add constraints on purpose. Creativity loves walls. Safety requires them. In your sim, load a single constraint that forces the rule you want. No new tabs until draft. 2-minute max answer. Then ask 1 question. Never dose without readback. Constraints shrink the search space your DMN explores and make the CEN handoff obvious. If you feel your voice drifting into styling or self-judgment mid-sim, snap it back with the held line, generate, don't judge, or check facts mode, and finish. That's not positivity, it's keeping the right task set live. Stress inoculation comes next, short, controlled spikes. So the break you need shows up when your heart rate climbs. Do a 30-second brisk walk or 5 slow squats, then immediately run the 1-scene sim. Or play mild distraction, low volume chatter, a timer ticking, and still execute the line and the verification. You're teaching the switchboard that arousal doesn't change the rule. Keep doses tiny. We're building reliability, not drama. Risk needs its own rig. Separate move fast from can't fail. Build a pre-commit list of red line steps with decision boundaries you will not cross without proof. Medication lookalikes, financial transfers, irreversible deploys, public sends with legal impact. For each, write 1 friction you accept every time. Read back out loud, finger trace the critical field, screenshot before submit, restate the ask in 1 line and confirm, then simulate the moment with that break. Hear yourself say it. Do it twice. When the real cue lands, you won't negotiate with vibes. You'll trigger a trained line. For creative risk, the fear that makes you hide behind research, use constraint boxes. 7 minutes, 5 bad openings, no editing. Timer on, headphones on, your sim is just you typing ugly lines and checking a box. The shipped micro reward is the training signal. After, simulate the handoff. Pick the least terrible, set a 15-minute polish cap, and ship to one trusted reader. We're shrinking exposure while still moving. The co-pilot learns that small, certain risks lead to repeats, not ruin. Counterfactuals can be useful if you keep them surgical. After a stumble, rerun the same scene with one changed line or break. If I had labeled hot and asked for one example, what would I have said? Speak it once, feel the breath, and stop. You're giving the system an alternate path to store without spiraling into blame. Next exposure, that path is available. Use tripwires for scenarios where your narrator is likely to invent stories. Write 3 phrases that force reality back in. What's the one disconfirming detail?
Restate the request in one line. Show me the unit. Simulate them. Then place them where you work. On the monitor bezel, the cart, the notebook margin. When the heat rises, your eyes find the line, your mouth says it, and Salience hands control to the right network. Team sims are the fastest way to install shared breaks. Pick one failure mode: interruptions during medpass, assumption cascades and deploys, vague asks in meetings. 5 minutes, 2 roles, 1 script, cue, breath, break line, verification, proceed. Rotate. The point isn't acting, it's rehearsing the words and the friction. Later, in the wild, anyone can say, read back or pause point, and the room switches lanes together. 2 advanced moves when time is tight. First, bridge ahead sim. At the end of a block, speak tomorrow's first keystroke out loud and type it once. Your hippocampus gets a crisp cue to replay overnight. Second, threat model in a sentence. Name the single thing that would cause the worst error and attach the break. Look-alike vials, finger, trace aloud. Ambiguous approval, restate and confirm. Say it. You've drawn a bright line the co-pilot can see. Finally, pair simulation with stakes you can feel. A tiny reward when you hit the brake under pressure. A tick, a shared nod, cements the loop. A tiny consequence when you skip the break. A handwritten missed readback in your log keeps the line salient. Not shame, salience. Mental simulation, tight constraints, explicit risk breaks. 3 levers that make your inner narrator a training asset instead of a hype man. Keep scenes short, lines spoken, friction real, and reps frequent. Then let sleep do the part you can't. Turn today's sims into tomorrow's instincts. Identity update. Narrating a different story. Let's talk identity, because this is where the narrator can either trap you or become your best tool. Identity isn't a mystical core. Change the story inputs and the story changes. It's the running story your DMN tells about the kind of person I am, updated by what you repeatedly do and say, especially the short lines you rehearse and the receipts you log. Here's the practical version. Shrink identity to sentences your inner voice can deploy under load. I'm the person who breathes once before I reply. I'm the person who writes a stop line before I start. I'm the person who finger traces the label on lookalikes. Those aren't affirmations, they're executable scripts. Each one binds a cue to an action to a value. When the cue lands, your habit system can run it without asking your philosopher for permission. Now pair the sentence with proof. If you want your narrator to believe the update, give it receipts. It can't argue with. A tick box, a readback said out loud, a screenshot saved, a small shipped artifact. The DMN weights fluency heavily, but it respects logs. After a week of tiny evidence, I'm the person who stops sounding like a wish and starts sounding like a recognition. Anchor the identity to values you actually endorse. Pick one: accuracy, kindness, autonomy, and translate it into a single if-then you can practice. Accuracy becomes, if I feel rushed, then I read once out loud. Kindness becomes, if feedback stings, then I ask for one example. Autonomy becomes, if the app hooks me, then I close it and reopen on purpose. The value gives the narrator a theme. The if-then gives the basal ganglia a move. Narratives update faster when they ride language in place. Use one line of inner speech to keep the task set live. Check facts mode. Generate, don't judge, and tie it to a physical zone. One seat means execute. One chair means reflect. When you sit, say the line once.
You've told Salience which network you want. Over time, your narrator learns, this is where we act like us. Expect pushback. The old story will surface as polished reasons. I'm not disciplined, I'm a night owl, I need pressure. Don't litigate character. Redirect with mechanics. If the line is, I'm the person who starts small, the move is 3 ugly sentences and a checkbox. If the line is, I breathe once before I reply, the move is 1 physiological sigh and a readback. The action rewrites the sentence keeps you on script. Use social echo to harden the update. Teach a teammate your break words, read back, pause point, tag it, and echo theirs. When someone says your word in the wild and you execute, your identity becomes shared property. The co-pilot loves social cues. Your narrator loves membership. Both help you stick. Rewrite identity where it matters most. In failure. The old story makes Mrs. Moral. The new story makes them mechanical. Script and oops line you can run without shame. Label it, log it, fix 1 step, sleep, 1 clean rep tomorrow. Say it out loud after you slip. You've kept agency with a sentence, and you've handed consolidation a clear pattern to keep. Give the narrator time, targets it can predict. Weekly, pick 1 identity line, 1 context,
And 1 proof you'll collect. I'm the person who writes a stop line before I start at my morning desk with 5 ticks this week. At the end, read the ticks and say the line. Simple, corny, effective. You're pairing the new story with rhythm and evidence. Finally, let the environment do half the work. Put the sentences where your eyes land, on the monitor bezel, the med cart, the notebook. Make the right move the easy move, single-purpose desktop, 2 tabs, no badges, timer auto starts. Your story follows your defaults. When the path of least resistance matches your line, identity feels natural, not forced. Identity is a narrator's job, but the narrator listens to loops, cues, and logs. Don't wait to feel like a different person. Speak the smallest true sentence you want to live. Run the move that matches it. Collect the receipt. Sleep. Tomorrow, your co-pilot will recognize the cue a little faster, and your story will describe who you've already been. Limits, myths, and what we don't know yet. Quick gut check before we land this. There are real limits here, and a few myths that need killing. First, limits. Strategic automaticity is powerful and blind. If then rules make you fast, but they don't make you right. In high-risk steps, med dosing, irreversible deploys, money moves, speed must be paired with verification. That's why we bound fast with breaks like readbacks and finger tracing labels. Treat those as non-negotiable friction, not optional etiquette. Second, state control isn't a cure-all. Sleep, light, breath, movement, fuel. These shift thresholds, not destiny. You will still have flat days. The win is reducing false alarms and making starts cheaper, not becoming a robot. When the system is underpowered, shrink the target, protect consolidation, and come back. Forcing heroics at midnight just teaches your brain that work equals pain. Third, metrics can backfire. Streaks without mercy, hour counts, and vibe surveys invite performative behavior and rumination. If a metric doesn't change a decision in the next block, drop it. Keep leading indicators local and blameless. You want numbers that make the next right action obvious, not dashboards that make you feel judged. Fourth, identity lines are tools, not truth. I'm the person who works because it's executable and testable. But if a line starts to feel like self-policing or shame, rewrite it smaller and tie it back to a concrete cue. Action you can actually run. Identity is the story you earn with receipts, not a costume you wear. Now, myths. Myth 1. If I just find the perfect system, I won't need discipline. The system is there to make discipline cheaper, not unnecessary. You'll still need the 10-second veto and the first tiny step. Myth 2. Gut feelings are either magic or garbage. They're fast signals from familiarity and interoception. Treat them as data, then route them through verification where it matters. Myth 3. Willpower is the problem. The scarce resource is skilled switching. You're training salience to respect your cues, not summoning virtue. Deeper myths. Déjà vu as prophecy. Flow as permanent, multitasking as mastery. Déjà vu is a mistimed familiarity tag. Compelling, not predictive.
Flow is an outcome of prepared cues, steady arousal, and narrow targets, not a state you chase. Multitasking just means context switching with attacks, batch cousins, and use bridges to pay less. What we don't know yet, we don't have a clean, unified theory that maps subjective experience one-to-one onto oscillations and spikes. We have converging evidence: medial temporal timing for familiarity versus recollection, prefrontal control for conflict monitoring, salience network gating, sleep-driven consolidation, but the binding of now and consciousness is still an open field. Same for individual variability, why your best launch cue is a playlist and mine is silence. Precision mapping will improve this, but for now, expect to test and tweak. We also don't know some people need a brisk walk, others need a sip of caffeine, then a breath. Too much novelty energizes one person and throws another into pinball. Start tiny, change one lever at a time, and watch what actually moves starts and shipped. Finally, strategy debt is real. If your environment is noisy, your schedule is porous, and your social cues reward interruption, the best inner protocol will feel uphill. Don't moralize that friction. Fix one piece of the field at a time. 2 tabs, 1 chair per mode, shared phrases for breaks. Agency compounds fastest when the runway gets quieter. Keep the stance humble and practical. Feelings inform, rules guard, environment nudges, logs prove, sleep stitches. When you miss, you run the oops protocol. When you win, you tick a box and sleep. Everything else is decoration. Rapid recap and your next action. Here's the core. Label signals, level the body budget, load a tiny rule, verify where stakes demand it, and let.
Sleep. Consolidate the wins. Your co-pilot flies by cues, not pep talks. Your next move takes 2 minutes. Write. Target, constraint, stop. Do 1 physiological sigh. Launch the ritual and type 3 ugly lines. When you stop, write a bridge line and tick 1 box. Then protect tonight's sleep. That's it. Start, prove, and let biology carry you.